Hello, everybody, and welcome to Small Business Small Talk this morning. It is April 7. It's the 7th of April. I'm looking out my window. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's snowing. We're supposed to be in spring, but it's snowing here in Louisville, Kentucky. So welcome to spring, everybody. Is anybody else's allergies whacked out like mine? I'm pretty sure everybody is. So good morning and welcome to the show. Today, for Small Business Small Talk, we are going to talk about the Shysters. Because I've had interesting conversations lately. I always have interesting conversations. It's part of the fun of what I do. So having this conversation with somebody new, we've seen each other in different networking circles and on social media, and he reached out and let's have the networking coffee and get to know each other. Fantastic. So we got on the subject of how can you tell when somebody's actually being real or not? Like, are they worth working with? Are they, and sometimes they're not. Like, they put on a good show, but at the same time they don't follow through. Like, their level of integrity is just not there. So that's part of this subject today, and it's one of those really weird kind of subjects because everybody has their own sense of reality. Like, my version of reality is different than yours because our perspective forms our reality. So how we see somebody else working in the world is different for me than it is for Charlene. And so then she and I will compare notes about, is this really going on with this person, and can I trust that? And sometimes the answer is no, don't. There's red flags all around that I may not see, and Charlene can see, but I can't. So that's why comparing notes whenever you're doing networking is always good. Do you know this person? What do you think? How well do they work? Is their personalities good? Like, do they do what they say they're going to do? But we talked about a handful of people, Adam and I talked about a handful, and we come to the conclusion that those handful of people that we were talking about are not worth their salt, I guess, the metal that they put out there. So we also discovered that we're living in a snapshot world. So what you see as an end result picture of an accomplishment from somebody is not the complete picture. It's just as if somebody's taking one verse out of the Bible and making it the whole gospel. Well, that's not in context. So how can you tell? Like, how do you go deeper with something? We just believe that piece, that picture, that instant moment that you've put out there. We believe it because we don't have anything else to go on. Well, we're believing that about everybody, including all these millionaires of the world who, let me just air quote that, millionaires of the world who put it out there that they have all of this stuff. Whenever, if you go deeper, you find out they rented that car. They don't actually own that car. So how can you discern the truth of a person that you're working with, that you're getting ready to hire, that you are going to go into business with? How do you do that research on somebody? Use your network of people for one. Have those conversations. Who do you have in common? And actually have a solid discussion about what's been your experience with them. Now, you get into a little bit of, if you're getting ready to hire somebody, you can't legally ask certain questions about that person that anybody's going to answer legally. So just watch your P's and Q's when you're actually hiring an employee and you want to know more about them. But if you're getting ready to hire that employee, take them out. Like, if you're really vetting that person, take them and have a coffee, take them to a lunch, because putting them in a different environment is going to show that side of that person. There's certain environments you just can't really fake yourself through. Eating is one of them. How a person's going to eat in front of you is different than how a person's going to put on a suit and hand you their resume. So looking at some of those things. We also discussed that, and we got down to this good old-fashioned word of shysters. Yeah, the shysters of the world. Some are obvious and some are not. So we go through all this, and like, you can tell by some marketing messages. those that put themselves out there in a certain way, you're like, yeah, that's not really believable, because it's not. Just go with your gut on that. And a lot of times our gut will tell us, like, if it feels off, it usually is. The old saying, if it's too good to be true, it is true. There is no easy button for life. Now, when you hire a company to do the thing that you can't do on your own, that's a form of an easy button. But it still takes money to hire that company, and you got to work with them. And so there are easy buttons out there. But if somebody is presenting themselves that their whole life is an easy button, like you didn't have to do, like you just take this pill and you lose weight. No, that's not the case. You actually have to have a lifestyle that supports getting the weight off. Trust me, on that one, I know. You can't just drink a special drink and it all magically goes away. It just doesn't work that way. So when somebody's presenting themselves with that kind of messaging, go a little deeper. Just do your due diligence before you sign up with somebody. So those are those shysters of the world. So it's funny how things tend to progress in my world, and I have these different conversations, and one goes from one to another, and they all overlap. And so I love reading the Bible for all kinds of reasons, because there's all kinds of crazy shit in the Bible that you just don't realize. Like, again, people may take the whole thing out of context, but Proverbs is awesome. When it comes to, Proverbs is filled with comparing the wicked to the righteous. And if you want to be wicked, you're going to do these things. If you want to be righteous, you do these things. So really funny story here. So he who walks with wise men will be wise. But the companion of fools will be destroyed. Who are you walking with? And then I go over to this next chapter. And this is where it gets it is definitely too good to be true. Get to the next chapter, and there's the tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightly, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. Watch your marketing message, because if it sounds foolish, it's coming across as foolish. Do you want that? This is the first question I typically will ask people. If I think it's going to sound foolish, then you shouldn't. So don't do that, because if that thought process is biblical, then it's true for normal everyday use, okay? So that is one of those things that just double check how you're putting stuff out there. If you don't want to sound like a shyster, you probably want to revise what you're saying. And thank you, Charlene. Yeah, so paying attention to what you're saying, have somebody to have double check you. If you think that like you don't see it, get somebody to double check you. Have that good, solid inner circle of people who are willing to come alongside or willing to point out, like, you need at least 2 people in your life that will look at you and say, you're full of shit. You need to stop doing that, because that's not coming across very good. You need those people. We all do. And if you don't have those people, I can help you find some, because if I'm not the one, I got plenty in my circle that are willing to tell me I'm full of crap. Some are afraid to do it, but I got a couple who ain't afraid of me. You need that, and you need that for your business. Especially if you are the owner, all of your people will tend to coddle you a little bit, because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to tell you you're off. They don't want to tell you you're sounding like a fool, because they don't want to put themselves in jeopardy to lose the job. So let's face it, they're not gonna tell you everything that you want to know, simply because of that dynamic. That's why, a good shout out to Charlene again. Charlene runs masterminds. That's why a mastermind is also good to have. Whether you find a good solid mastermind to be a part of, or a CEO roundtable, somewhere that you can go as that owner, that top decision maker, that you are no longer alone, and you have a solid, safe group of people who are going to call you out on your crap. that's, yeah, you don't want to go there, or solidly go in that direction. That totally sounds like you. That makes complete and total sense. Do it. I resonate with that. You need to put it out there. And that goes down for everything. So if you were even putting together a print ad for your local ball team's directory, sponsor guide, be careful about how you're presenting yourselves to that audience. If you have certain products, you may not want to present those products in a high school, right? Just saying. But so pay attention is always number one. Pay attention. Double check yourself. And if you can't do it yourself, bring somebody in to help double check you. This is where part of that strategic planning that I do, that's that SWOT piece. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. The strengths and weaknesses, do that constantly. Just reevaluate on a regular basis what you're about, what you're putting out there. And that is a good solid piece. How do you avoid shysters? Well, I don't think that we can, because first of all, you have to pick them out. You got to really figure out who's who and what's what in the environment that you're in. I've got one environment that I'm a part of, and there is definitely one guy that stands out to everybody that they don't want to be around him, and he shows up all the time. So some tolerate it, some ignore it, some just, we just look at it and shake our heads because we just don't even know. And I'm curious how the guy even gets business. And then once you find out more detail, you're like, oh, he doesn't have to because somebody else takes care of his expenses. So he's just here because he got time to spare and he likes to stir the crap. So there are those people. And you also find out that there's those people who just love to manipulate to get the business. That will be more obvious on the upfront, just because of their approach, the way that they handle conversations into their sales piece. If they're super pushy, what's the motivation behind being super pushy? Because remember, nobody likes to be sold. We understand that sales are necessary, but nobody likes to be sold. I don't want that pushed on me. I want to make that decision when I'm ready, and you're not giving me space to be ready if you're pushy. So pushy and foolish are two different things. So what's the motivation behind pushy? If it is because you just want to manipulate me to get more money, period, that's moving you into shyster and I won't do business with you. If it's being pushy because you're being pushed by the shyster, that's a little different. So now I need to figure out what your real motivation is, and are you in the right spot? Do we need to find you a different sales position because this is not a good environment for you? But I will get in the mess with people. So shysters, they're there, they're out there, they're going to be a part of wherever we go because it's, oh gosh, and it does affect us. Thank you, Charlene, because learning discernment is a process of experiences and learning from each one without letting the one bad experience with a person prevent you from doing it with someone else. Think of going through a divorce. Will you still open yourself up to dating after that? Some do, some don't. Don't let the one bad shyster experience get you in your head to label the entire industry that way. It's not fair to everybody else in the industry. So shysters can really cause us a mental mess for ourselves as well as a mess in our business. They can cause some real damage. If you're working with a shyster, you've partnered up with a shyster, and business is going great for that first year, and then all of a sudden something doesn't click the way that it was supposed to, and now they are stealing from you, and you're now in litigation to get the business you've paid for, trying to get it back into your own ownership because that person has came and stolen from you physical stuff off of your own property. Like, who does that? It happens. It happens. So I have a client who is in that situation now, and it sucks because what do you say to your people? Because your business who bought this other business, you are doing it all for the right and good reasons, to be able to celebrate and do good stuff in the world. But that person that you entered into business with is a shyster, and you didn't realize it until this one thing didn't go the way he wanted. And now all of a sudden he's stolen from you, and it's illegal. Like, your whole world gets turned upside down. from one thing. It can turn into a mess very quickly. Again, that one falls under you don't know till you're in it, because everything was great on the upfront. And then what do? This falls under back to pay attention. Just pay attention. Watch people. Be discerning. Do the due diligence. Pay attention to them. Pay attention to what you're putting out there. Be more alert and awake and aware of what you're doing in the world and what's going on in the world around you. Just be more aware, I think, would be the solid message for a wrap up for this morning on that, because man, shysters can really cause some havoc, and they really get your goat, and they really make you not want to go do the thing that you want to go do because you know that person's going to be there, and it just makes not for a very good day. So work on your perspective of the situation, how you want to enter that situation. That goes back to being aware and alert, really is the boiling down of that. Now, there are tools and tricks and things of how to get along with difficult people. There's a lot of workshops out there for that, and that would help in the situation of if you are in that situation with a shyster in a really difficult spot. Definitely start doing some homework and some training on how to handle yourself in that situation, because you can't do anything about them. They are not going to change for you. So, but you can change how you enter into that situation. That will help give you more confidence, more power, more peace, more purpose, and it will go a lot more smooth. So if you need some of those resources, by all means, let me know. I can share those with you. But with that, be aware of you, of them, be alert, have more discernment, get together with others, compare notes, do your due diligence. And with that, that is Small Business Small Talk for today. Please join me again next week whenever, I don't know, we'll figure out what we're going to talk about closer to that date. I am also looking for input on timing for these things, because I want to start doing some guest appearances, but I want to make sure that it's a good time for that guest as well. So it may be random times. It may be a set time of the week. Does that work? Does random times work? That's a good question. If we're going to be different, does random work? Who knows? I would love your input. Subscribe on the YouTube channel at smallbusinesssmalltalk.com, and I will see you again later. Thanks, everybody.